Hello everyone, I'm home. Welcome back to my channel. Well, it's Labor Day weekend and there's a lot going on in the area, but hubby and I decided we were just going to take a meandering drive out through the countryside, possibly stop and see our boys. And as we were driving along and I was thinking about pictures and things I wanted to talk to you about in this video, a story came to my mind that I wanted to share with you from back when I was doing hair. I have a couple of friends that are older and they had already raised their children. This was about 20 years ago. And they took in two little girls as foster children. And they were two beautiful little blonde-headed girls. They were 8 and 10 years old. And when the lady called me and said, could you wash the girl's hair and comb it out? She said, it's really tangled and matted. I got it clean, but I can't get the tangles out. I said sure, and she brought them in, and she was like a grandmother type to them, and she had bought them new dresses, and they were just twirling around my shop in those dresses. You could tell they just loved it. And the little girl that was older, I cut her hair and got the tangles out and styled her pretty, and she went with the lady, and they went uptown to the post office, and the little one stayed there with me, and I was detangling her hair and talking to her, and she was just full of all kinds of talk. And all of a sudden, we were in the middle of the conversation, and she looked up at me, and she said, what is life? And she kind of caught me off guard, and I said, I don't know, what is life? And she said, oh, I don't know, I think just whatever makes you happy, being happy. I said, yeah, I think you're right, being happy is what life should be about. I said, what makes you happy? And she thought for a second, and she said, I think horses. I said, yeah, horses make you happy. I said, that's a good thing to be happy about. And we had a real nice conversation. And that little girl had been through so much in her little life that it just stuck with me and always stayed. And I just never forgot it. Her talking about life and how horses would make you happy. So we're driving along and I'm telling my husband that story and I'm getting all teary-eyed thinking about it and wondering whatever happened to that little girl and knowing that my friends gave those little girls a really good life for however many days or weeks they got to keep them. So we're driving along and we went to Oxford, Indiana, and that's the home of Dan Patch. And Dan Patch was a famous racehorse back in the late 1800s to early 1900s. And you should go online and look up Dan Patch and read about him. He was the most interesting horse. He was one of the most famous horses of all time, I guess. I learned a lot about him reading all the stories online. And then we were driving around and we'd been to this town a lot. And I had never been past this building where he was born. And I'm going to show you that here in a minute. But we're out in the country around Oxford and just looking at the pretty barns. And I was just thinking about that little girl and how wise she was for her years, to tell me that and to ask me what I thought life was all about. And driving around and just looking at the pretty scenery in our community. Now, this isn't pretty. They put all these wind turbines in. And I mean, we have hundreds of them. I don't even know how many there are in Warren County and Benton County. But to me, I don't like them. They mess up the landscape of rural Indiana. But that's just me. So we're looking at all the old barns, and that makes us happy. We just like to get us a Coke and maybe a snack and just drive around and look at things and see the old barns and see the interesting things that we have in our county. It's beautiful. Warren and Benton County are two of the prettiest counties in Indiana, I can almost guarantee you. So we stopped at this big barn, and I read the signs about Dan Patch, and that led me to want to read up about him because I knew he was a famous racehorse, but didn't know that much about him. And ended up, this was the farm that he was born on. And there's the barn here in a minute that he was born in. And I thought it was so interesting. And cars kept going by and honking at us like, oh, you're finally seeing Dan Patch's home. I guess he ran a mile in 1.55 seconds. And that record didn't get broken for 32 years. So he must have been a darn good racehorse. A lot of the stories I read said he never lost a race. And we thought this was his tombstone, but he was bought by somebody and he was buried somewhere else. But Oxford put this up on that farm as a memorial to him. And there's also a movie about him, and I'm going to order it off of Amazon and watch it, called The Great Dan Patch. And Oxford hosts a Dan Patch Festival, and it's next week. So maybe I'll go there and see that and share it with you. So we just drove around a little bit more. And on the theme of horses, I got to thinking about my friend Margie. When I came here in 4th grade, and Margie was in my class, and she had a great love of horses. And I was just always amazed at the stories she told and the things that she did, because she was really into it. And I had I had a pony when I was little, but I like to hear Margie tell the stories. Well, Margie and I are still friends, and she hosts a little festival on her farm in September. She lives on the farm that her parents had, and it's called Farmer Frank's Farm Festival, I guess. Anyway, I hate to say it, Margie's invited me to this the last 3 years that she's had it, and I've been too busy or something came up, and I haven't even been to the festival. But I know it's really nice because some of my friends have gone. So this year my friend Sherry asked if I would like to go and set up with her, and I'm going to. And I'm really looking forward to it. But as long as I've known Margie, she's loved horses, and her children judge and compete in various equestrian events, and they're just a really amazing family. So I'm really happy to be a part of that this year. And her parents, Winnie and Frank, were the sweetest people and just the greatest people in our community. And their whole family is. And I'm really proud to know Margie and to be a part of this. And it's just a little festival where people can come and learn what goes on a farm. And they have all these little events and mums and pumpkins and local honey and pony rides and petting zoo. And she's got the pretty big farmhouse and the pretty big barn. These are photos that Margie actually took, probably at last year's festival. And I'm looking forward to it. So I kind of went through my kitchen and was doing some cleaning the other day, and I thought I got to get some different stuff out for the festival and to put in my little flea market, which I'm going to have quite a bit of stuff because I have my store just packed full. And then my friend Sherry always takes a lot of stuff, and we're going to have her trailer and then 2 tents, and I guess another one of her friends is coming along too. So it'll be all 3 of us. So I was going through my overabundance of stuff and decided to pick out some country farmhouse looking things to take. And I've got a lot of white creamers and a lot of handmade pottery. And I just have too much. A lot of it's stored away in cabinets. So I pulled out a few things. I thought this was really pretty. And this little cup, I guess someone made it to be like a teacup to hold your tea bag on the side there. It's a beautiful cup. Someone really did a good job making it. And I drink tea, but I don't always use cups that are that fancy. So it says BBP on the bottom. I'm not sure if it's a Beaumont Brothers or not. A lot of people put BBP on them trying to pass them off as Beaumont. But I've talked to the Beaumont Brothers before, and I can send them a picture of this and see if the one brother thinks that this is their piece. And then I found this little thing at a yard sale one day, and she's so adorable. I looked it up, and I looked up Dutch Farm Holland Girl picture. I didn't know really what to look up, and I found them. And they're just adorable. They're not a real big value to them, maybe $18 to $40. But she's just the sweetest little thing. And I thought, well, you don't use it. It's just taking up room. It doesn't really go with your stuff. So I'm going to take it to the festival. And I'm going to price my stuff to sell. I'm going to pass on the bargains. Like I said, I got this at a yard sale, so I'm not going to charge a lot for it. And I found this one on Pinterest, and I thought they're just adorable. They have the most beautiful little faces. And then recently I've thrifted several copies of Marge Clark's cookbook, and Marge happened to be Margie's aunt. So I think I'll take my cookbooks that I have and take them to her festival. I think people would appreciate those out there. And if not, I'll bring them home because everyone in Warren County wants this book, and I can put it on Facebook and get rid of it in an instant. And she had signed this one for somebody named Jane and autographed it. And one of the books had a cover and the other one did not. Then I found this stately little fellow at a flea market the other day for $1. And he's just beautiful. He's vintage. And my first thought was, Margie's Festival. I'll take him. He looks country farmhouse. But I love him. And I think I can repair him. And I'm kind of trying to decide if I want to repair him because I like the way he looks. He's just got a few little chiggers here and there, which I don't mind at all. So I may paint him, I may not, but he looks really pretty sitting in my kitchen. So he's going to stay for a few minutes. Now, by the time that festival gets here in a couple of weeks, I may change my mind and take him, because I have a lot of these. I was at my friend Judy's house the other day, and I thought I had a lot of roosters and chickens. She had so many. I've got to take you to her house and give you a tour of just her kitchen and all her roosters and chickens. I thought he looked really cute from the back. He's kind of plump, like he's ready to be slaughtered. I think funny sometimes, but he looks pretty in my kitchen, so he's going to stay for a while. And then, of course, you know how I like to make my tags. If you've watched some of my previous videos, I love to sit and make tags when I'm watching television. So I get some pretty images and I put them on cardstock. Sometimes I antique them and stain them, and sometimes I don't. But if I have a piece of furniture, I want a big tag on it so they don't have to dig around looking for the tag. And I just like to be able to see a tag on things. I hate it when they don't have a tag, or they have one and it's so small, or it's sticky, or I just like these kind of tags. And I have so many old cookbooks that I went through and copied some of the recipes, and I just cut those out and put them on the tags with a pretty picture. And when they buy the item, I write it down, and then I let them have the tag, and they have a recipe along with it. This is for some peanut butter recipe, and the other one was for some kind of antique recipe for like caramel sauce. I try to pick out recipes I think people would want to make, and older recipes that aren't around anymore. So I'm packing up some stuff. These are those beautiful green wine glasses I got recently, and the boys didn't want them for their apartment. I knew they wouldn't. So I'm packing them up and taking them to the festival, and I'm pricing some things out in the garage and getting ready to go. And I'm real excited because it's going to be a neat little festival. And if it rains, I've got the tent that Sherry has. So Sunday is like my reset day. I like to get up on Sunday morning and spend some quiet time, read my Bible, go out on the porch and have a cup of tea or a cup of lemon water, whatever it is I'm having, and just think about all the things that really make me happy. And I go through, and what I'm grateful for. And I go through my kitchen, and I kind of putter around the house before anyone wakes up. And I just spend some time by myself and kind of reset for the week. I go through my messages and my YouTube comments, which I so appreciate from all of you guys, and I can't wait to answer you back. And I hope someday I get so many comments and so many followers that I don't have time to message you all back, and I can just say thank you to everyone. But right now I don't have that many, so I can answer you all back. But I just think about all the things that make me happy, and I putter around and deep clean my kitchen. Here I'm deep cleaning my stove. I clean it real good, and I clean my cabinets off, and it sounds like work, but for me it's, I don't know, it's refreshing. It's fun. That little trivet on the back, I found it thrifting, and it's a real heavy trivet, and I keep it on that back warmer because I've never even used that warmer that's on the back of my stove. I probably should have. And then I think I showed you this one time. It's a little coast trivet I found that's a fall color, and I just love it. And I leave it on top of that other trivet, a trivet on top of a trivet. And then the other day I was thrifting, and I found this beautiful blue and white trivet that's exactly the same size as the other one, made just like it. And it says a natural bridge in Virginia. And someone originally gave $15 for it, and then it looked like it was sold somewhere else for $5. I think I got it for 50 cents at the thrift store. And I just set them on there, and when one gets dirty, I'll put it in the sink and put the other one out. Put my salt and pepper. I like to have a lot of salt and pepper shakers sitting around, so I always have one I can grab when I'm cooking. And sometimes I put my little pottery jar there that keeps my knives, and sometimes I just stack them on top of each other. I like to have my trivets sitting around so I can always set my salt and pepper shakers down and they don't fall. And then when we moved there and I set my stove in place, I didn't have much space to set pretties, so I took a piece of wood and glued it to the top of my new stove. And I bought these little wooden appliques at Hobby Lobby and stained it all to match. And now I have a shelf across my stove, which is probably totally wrong. You're not supposed to glue wood to a stove. But I did, and I've got all my little pretties, and you can see them here. And do they get greasy? Yes. That's why I'm cleaning every Sunday. But it takes like 2 minutes to clean all that stuff. And I like it there. I like to look at it. I have this big picture I've showed you before. I got it at the Covered Bridge Festival years ago. And yes, it hangs behind my stove. And yes, I have to wash the glass every week just like you would a backsplash. But I just like all my little pretties. You know how I am. I'm not a minimalist. I like my things. And I like all my little thrifted flea market-y stuff. And I like it. So this is fun for me on Sunday morning to go through my kitchen and clean all my pretties and change things around if I want to and clean. I like to clean my kitchen and I like to get the grease off of everything. This picture is just beautiful. I think some lady had it for like $6 and that intricate frame needs scrubbed every now and then. Then I like to keep my spoons and a spooner on my counter so we can just grab a spoon. We use them so much that we wash them every day. But these little spooners, sometimes like knives and forks will tip out and fall off onto the counter. And then I have this taller spooner that I put my bigger spoons in and my small ladles. So the other day I was in the thrift store and I found this Wexford trifle pedestal bowl that was real deep. And I thought, boy, I could put all my silverware in that. And it matches my little butter dish that I'm thinking about getting rid of because I like my new rooster and hen butter dish. But this bowl's a lot deeper and it holds a lot of silverware. And like I said, I wash it about every day. So I may be getting rid of my little, I may just put that back in a cabinet and save it in case I get tired of using my rooster. But it's really pretty. And that piece of wood is just a piece of wood that I stained and set on my counter to cover up my ugly counter that I want replaced. And then I fill all my canisters and clean all my canisters and clean the little cups that go inside them. And that piece of wood, like I said, is just sitting there holding everything. And it looks a little cluttered, and it probably is, but I've got everything right in front of me where I need it to be. Now I'll put that brown sugar back in my pantry, but I think I'm going to use it today. And so I set it on my little pink bowl. So I wasn't going to show you the inside of this cabinet, but it's above that wooden thing on my counter. And it's my baking cabinet and my everything cabinet. I painted the inside of it green a few years ago. My kitchen's real dated and I've got an old cabinets. I'm working on a plan to change all that soon and I'll show you. But these little plates were 5-inch dessert plates that I found in stacks at the thrift store. How could I pass these up? These blue and whites and all these little intricate pattern dishes that they come in little stacks for $1 and you get about 6 or 10, and I've got about 20 of them stacked up there, but we grab them all day long for everything we eat if we eat something small. So back in the back there I have all these risers and you can see some bricks. I'll take 2 bricks and a little piece of beveled glass that I got from a shelf that used to go to a home interior shelf and put that underneath one of the risers and put my measuring cups and small spices and things on it. Then I had a lot of dead space at the top of my cabinet. There was like 12 inches at the top where there was nothing. So I put a couple of brackets and just a piece of wood in there and stained it and put my cornstarch, baking powder, cocoa, Crisco, the things that I don't use that much, up on the top shelf. And I have to stretch to get to those, but I don't use them that often. So I decided to go ahead and show you the inside of the cabinet. I've got a big plan for what I want to do with my cabinet. But I pick these little risers up at thrift stores all the time. And they're great because you can get a lot more into your cabinet. And then after I took this picture, I realized that I hadn't put my wax paper and my saran wrap and all that in yet. So I stuck that in there. But everything, that cabinet gets used more than any cabinet in my house. I'm in there all the time getting something out. And my husband and I have been told by our doctor, because of our health conditions, that we can eat dark chocolate. So I've been buying the dark chocolate chips and mix them with walnuts or pecans and use it for a little snack. And I buy the Great Value, I buy the Toll House, they're all the same. But the dark chocolate chips are a lot bigger than a regular chocolate chip. And they're really, really good. And they're good in anything. They taste just like the other chocolate chips. But they're bigger and we really like them. Now, my friend, her mother passed away. And the other day she and I were helping clean out some cabinets at her mom's house. And she gave me her mom's, I knew I was going to forget what those were called. And I'm so tickled to have it, candy thermometer. And this one has a sleeve on it. And I'm real tickled because I had one, but I'm always afraid they'll break. And I love it. And I'm thrifting the other day and I found these beautiful vintage coffee cups. I think they're from probably the 60s or the 70s, and they're this beautiful autumn color. And I just grabbed them up as soon as I saw them, and I set them on this little thing, my little wooden cake stand. And I took the pumpkin away thinking, Marcy, you have too much stuff on everything. But then I didn't like it without it, so I put it back. I don't like dead spaces. And I just love those little cups. And I did something with those recently on a rainy night with a couple of plates I'm going to show you in the next video probably, that was really sweet. And then the book that's on my easel right now is Nancy Noel's cookbook called Joy in Simplicity, and you can get it anywhere on Amazon, thriftedbooks.com. It's out there. It's got a beautiful painting of hers on the front. Nancy was a wonderful artist. I got to meet a few times at her gallery in Zionsville, Indiana, and she was fabulous. Very nice lady. And I'll leave that one out until a little bit later in the fall, and I'll put my beloved apples recipe book out and leave it out probably until after Thanksgiving, in which I will put Marge Clark's Christmas cookbook out. And these things make me happy. I know it seems little, but I'm going to tell you later on. My mom used to say, make the little things big. In other words, don't let little things that make you happy seem trivial. Make them count. So I went to Goodwill the other day while I was visiting my son, and also stopped at the Trinity Mission, which is a church thrift store. And guys, I found these two 56-inch square pieces of kind of a gauzy material in a caramel color, and they were in the free bin. And I grabbed them up thinking, I'll use those at the festival underneath some of my stuff on the tables. They'll be perfect. And here I put it with a fall napkin so you can see the color of it. It's a real light autumn color. It's just beautiful. And I looked at it a little better when I got home, and the tag said Mom Cozy. So I looked it up, and what they are, they're swaddlers for babies. And these poor young moms, I'm not putting them down, don't get me wrong, but I looked them up. And they said $30 plus tax. So I hope you get 4 of these swaddlers for $30. But young moms, these pillows you put under your arm when you're nursing your baby, we just use pillows. We just use blankets to swaddle with. We didn't have to buy special gauzy swaddling blankets. Heck, I put my twins in a laundry basket and hauled them around my house until they were too big to fit in it. I just think some of these moms are being swindled by these companies telling them they have to have all this expensive, fancy stuff. But if you can do it, it's more power to you. But I hauled mine around in a laundry basket. So I'm at the Goodwill, and this lady was looking at these little glass leaf candy dishes. She said, these are Waterford Crystal. And they were pretty, but I don't need them. And she's picked up 2 of them, and she said, I'm going to get these 2. She said, you ought to take this one. So I got the one that she didn't want, but it was actually the one I liked the best, that looked like a maple leaf. And it was just so beautiful and heavy and nice, and it was Waterford Crystal. I think that's the official Waterford Crystal, the Marquise pattern. I don't know. But I looked it up when I got home, and they're kind of pricey. And I told myself, you don't need this, but it's Waterford Crystal for $3. So I got it. And of course, it didn't have the original box. When I looked it up, this is what the box looks like. And it had this sweet little card that says, what it goes with is you. And I thought that's a neat little saying. When sometimes you'll say, what could I have? What do I have that goes with this? Well, it goes with you if you like it. So I put some candies in it, and I'm going to have to get some fall colored candies to put in it. But I'm going to end up being that, I think I already am that old aunt that has all the old candy dishes. But my young nieces, they just might fight over this Waterford Crystal one. I don't know, but I like it. And I'll put some candy corn in it or something, or some caramels, and it'll look pretty on the coffee table. So I'm at a yard sale the other day. Ran into a yard sale real quick, and this lady had a stack of these for $4, or 4 plates for $1. And it's called Diamond. I think that's just the line of dishes. There's different patterns maybe. Maybe this pattern is called Diamond. I don't know. But I loved all the pink and the orange. And it's made in Japan. I don't think it's probably real valuable, but it's vintage. And the girl said, oh yeah, those were my grandma's. She said, I never have used them. I said, well, honey, they're beautiful. And she goes, yeah. She said, if you don't buy them, I'm just going to take them to the thrift store. So I would have bought them at the thrift store. So I picked them up, brought them home, paired them with these beautiful cups I showed you earlier. And I'm going to show you what I did with this in another video on the rainy night the other night. Then I'm looking through my cabinet at all my overabundance of dishes, and this baby I forgot all about popped up, and I brought it out and I just held it in my arms and just looked at it and just smiled. I love it. I'll probably put potato salad in it or something at Thanksgiving. Look, take a moment. Just take a moment and look at that vivid, beautiful painting or decal of fruit. I just love it. And it's so autumnal. They keep saying that word. I hate it, but that's what they call it. So I'm in the Goodwill and I see this plate and I thought, man, if you had like a sun porch that you wanted to decorate with, green stuff and, what do you call it? This was painted in Italy. And I just thought this stuff was beautiful. If you put it all together and had kind of I can't think of the word again. Guys, when you have a camera and your audio and you're trying to say things, sometimes you can't think of what you're trying to say. These were watercolors made by the same artist. And I thought these glasses were pretty. I'm not sure if they're vintage, but they're frosted green. And I thought they were just beautiful. And you could sit out in your sunroom with all your, I can't think of the word right now, stuff and enjoy your sunroom. And then, of course, the beach stuff I was talking about. I keep seeing beach stuff popping up. Wouldn't this be cute, painted maybe a different color and have some towels rolled up in it? There's just so many ideas once you set a theme you can find at the thrift stores. Then they had this big, I would call it like a sand dollar. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was really heavy and really big and kind of thick. I put a bell up against it so you could see how big it was. It would look pretty sitting on a cabinet in a beach house. And then, of course, the votives. I've told you 100 times, don't buy votives anywhere but the thrift stores. They've got an overabundance of them and they're cheap. And they're pretty. Look at these. They have like crystal stones in them. They're just beautiful, and they're usually 99 cents. These are 99 cents at Goodwill, and I had seen these at Hobby Lobby a few years ago, and I thought they were an interesting pattern with the blue pumpkins, but that's not really my thing, and I don't need mugs. But look, the tag was still on it. Someone gave $11.99. I thought that was really something that was there for 99 cents. Then I saw this chair, and I think it ended up being a random dining room chair, but you could set it in your bedroom. It would totally go in my house. It was only $14, but of course I don't need it. Then I saw this beautiful little table that someone totally ruined by sticking 2 vinyl floor tiles on. Really stuck to it too. I tried to peel them up. If they would have come off easily, I probably would have bought that table. But I don't think they would have come off easily, and so I walked away. But you find that in the Goodwill too. And then I got a couple of dish towels that didn't look like they'd ever been used. They were at the church mission. I got them for $1, and I loved all the pretty flowers and the apples and the pears. I passed on these 99-cent dishes. Jeffrey Kevin, don't scream. I know he would love them. I just have so many dishes, you end up getting stacks and stacks and forget what you have. But look at that beautiful fruit. I kind of regret not getting that one. But the table that I got at the estate sale, I loved it. It was sturdy. I didn't even mind the finish on it. It was a little rough. But when you ran your hands across the top of it, and you could see it, there were these little bumps. It was almost like they didn't sand it down enough, and then they varnished it, and it bubbled up or something. So it was bothering me. Normally, dings and marks don't bother me, but this was. So I sanded it with my hand sander, and I sanded that bottom shelf, and I dried it and wiped it and sanded it a little more and got them all off, got it smooth again. The other pieces are in good shape. They're nice and smooth, and I'll stain over that and it'll look fine. I know it's not the way it's supposed to be refinished. It's not supposed to be refinished for me. My whole house is full of things that weren't done right. They're just done to my liking. If someone else wants to come along later and refinish this, they most certainly can. I wiped it down, and it's kind of wet here, but I wiped it and dried it really good. And once it's dry, I'll stain it tomorrow and it'll be perfect for me. And I will love all the little imperfections in it, even though there aren't many. And like I said, someone can come along later after my boys donate it to a thrift store and they can fix all the flaws. But I like the flaws and it doesn't bother me a bit. Actually, it makes me really happy. Just like this little telephone stand I got off the side of the road at that place that day that guy threw everything against the road. It's been sitting on my porch all year, and all I did to it was clean it up and put another coat of stain on it. I like all the little nicks and scratches, and it's on my porch. I have a covered porch, but this is my little school desk. It's on the covered porch, and I just wipe it off. And look at this little table. It's got wavy, what is that? I can't remember what they call it. The laminate? I don't know. Veneer. And once it totally falls off, I'll just stain the thing underneath it or put another board across the top of it. I don't care. It's on my porch. And this is the little bench I made that had the heart cut out. It sat in my French country bedroom for a while, and I finally put it on the porch. It's got a water stain, and it's got a half-dead plant sitting on it. I just like my stuff to be relaxed and comfortable. So I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart, and I've got an idea coming up. I think I'm going to take whatever the last picture is in my video and have that be the first picture in my next video, like a little continuous thing. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? That way, when you end one video, you'll know if you're seeing the next video by the first picture that you see on my thumbnail. So if you'll please like and subscribe, I would love that so much. My channel's growing and I'm just loving it. You could share it with your friends and maybe they would subscribe. And I'm going to try to continue to bring you all the beauty that I can bring you, that I have, and try to share the joy that I have in my life with you guys, and hope that you're having a wonderful fall and enjoying all my little randomness and knick-knacky things. And I don't care if you like sports, travel, fishing, whatever. Do what makes you happy and make the little things big. It's worth it. I just love you guys so much, and I can't wait till the next video.